Hi there, and welcome to Vegan Island Radio, the show that is dedicated to artists, activists and everyday people who are doing their bit to encourage others and bring about a vegan planet in their own special way. Today on the proverbial Vegan Island, I have with me Jesse Prince. Jesse is a theatre student at the University of Bristol, where he organises the plant-based university campaign and has recently spawned another campaign to end the use of the cruel and pointless forced swim test within the university. He also has a variety of odd companions, a garden snail called Gorilla, a dog named Spinelli, which means spliff in Italian, and a cat with only one tooth.
Please listen carefully.
Animals want to be free, just like they love their family, just like animals want to be free, just like they love their family, just like there's no excuse for animal abuse. Their bodies not ours for us to use. We want freedom, liberation for the souls we have forsaken. Humane slaughter is a lie, is a lie, is a lie. Animals don't want to die, want to die, don't want to die. Humane slaughter is a lie, is a lie, is a lie. Animals don't want to die, don't want to die. Animals want to be free, just like us. They love their family, just like us. All that breathe and that feel pain, we all want and insane. Animals want to be free, just like us. Listen up, cause we got a situation. 1,000 lies every minute sent to condemnation. A lack of love, humanity, where's the education? 1,000 lies told every day, deep within our nation. They breathe air like us, they get scared like us. We don't care enough, that's why this world's so unjust. The difference is you focus on it, superficial stuff. When you stop and think about it, they're just like us.
Well, I didn't see that coming.
Animals want to be free, just like us. They love their family, just like us. All that breathe and that feel pain, we all want and insane. Animals want to be free, just like us.
Oh my goodness.
Humane slaughter, humane slaughter, humane slaughter is a lie.
Oh my goodness.
Animals don't, animals don't, animals don't want to die.
Oh my goodness.
How you doing, Jesse? Welcome to the island.
I'm good. Thanks for having me on. And it's worth saying that we didn't know that it meant spliff in Italian when we named her. We found that out afterwards. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm really, really good. The Spinelli feels like some sort of pasta dish or something. But I suppose that's just the Italian.
Yeah, I think that's kind of like more what we had in mind, a cute little meaning. But no, it means a spliff. Yeah.
Right. So did you, your garden snail, where does your garden snail live? Presumably in your garden.
Right there. You see the box over there?
Was it injured? Did it, yeah, tell me more. Why do you have a garden snail called Gorilla?
Yeah, I mean, I've always loved snails. Whenever I was growing up, there's a picture of me at like 7 or 8 years old with like 10 different snails on my face. I actually, maybe my veganism comes from a little bit of like absolvement for my sins as a younger kid, because I used to like want to take care of so many snails. I just had no idea how to take care of them, and unfortunately, like they all met a pretty bad end. So maybe there's deep inside somewhere there's a guilt there, and now I'm trying to reconcile that. But anyway, I have this snail because I've always loved snails. Found it growing on a little house plant in my living room. It was so tiny and transparent. I was just like, yeah, I'll take care of it. I did loads of research. Like my first week, I had gorilla. I had stress dreams every night that I wasn't going to be able to take care of it. So I like to think that I'm a good snail parent now. I think I know my shit. I think I know what's going on. So taking care of them very well, and yeah, and he's 2 years old now, and the natural lifespan for a garden snail is 2 years. But if you keep them right, they can live for 5 years. So yeah.
Ah, right. That's interesting to know. So you say he's 2 years old now, or they are?
He's 2 years old, yeah, and I use any pronouns for him because snails are, I think the word is hermaphrodites. They go back and forth between having male and female anatomy, and so we just use whatever. And for our 2 year anniversary, I made him a nice little salad. I cut a bunch of different vegetables into like funky shapes and gave it to him. So yeah.
Brilliant. And you have a cat with one tooth with no name.
Oh no, he has a name. His name's Pi. Yeah, he was found. He was a bit of a rescue cat. Someone found him on the street covered in fleas, and took him in and cleaned him up and kept him for a while, and then eventually found his way to us, and now we take.
So pi, is that pi the mathematical pi or cutie pie?
Not sure.
Not sure.
Unfortunately, his full name is Mr. Cutie Pie, which I don't. I just think is an awful name. I would never name an animal that. But then you see my other taste in names like gorilla for a snail or a Spinelli for a dog. So maybe I have bad taste anyway. But I've never liked food names. So pie is manageable, but Mr. Cutie Pie is just a level. It's too big for me. I'm not. I don't want to call him that.
Yeah, I think cutie pie instantly came to my mind with pie. It was either maths or cutie pie. So so at the moment you're running a campaign. I saw some of the photographs and bits of video footage from the forced swim test. So do you want to tell me a bit about the background on that?
Yeah, sure. So the University of Bristol has been running the forced swim test for 25 years. I'll go into a little bit briefly about what it is. So basically, you take some rodent, typically it's rats, but it's also mice sometimes, and you drop them into a beaker of water, and there's no way out. So they just swim and swim, and eventually they give up swimming and they just start to float. And the idea is in the typical research, you put them on various potential antidepressant drugs and see how that affects the length of time that they try to swim before that they give up and just start floating. And there's also some research going on, which our university is doing now, on how stress works in the brain. The goal is eventually to understand how human stress works. And so you can see that there's already a lot of scientific issues there. Firstly, with the antidepressant research, how is a rat's life or death situation?
Yeah, well, we're not rodents. We're not rodents, and they're not humans.
Yeah, we're not rodents, and also being near drowned with no escape is not the same as depression. That's a really complex issue with many factors, and it's just not the same as being handled by this person in a lab coat and dropped into a beaker of water. It's not applicable. So many pharmaceutical companies have dropped the test. I don't have the list up with me now, but it's something like Pfizer and Johnson and Johnson and various others. And then I think we're the only university who still actively does the test. I think there's one other that still has an active license, a few others that have outright banned it, and then the rest just currently don't do it, but they haven't banned it either. So we're in a pretty unique situation right now.
So they do it at your university because they're conducting research for antidepressants, or is it part of a student qualification thing, or?
So our university is currently doing it to research how stress works on the brain. So on like a neurological level, what the brain functions are there. But it's not part of any student courses. In fact, it's just one researcher. It's only one researcher at our uni. And I've been told by some other people that, like, legally, we're not allowed to target that researcher specifically. But I'll be honest, I don't know the laws around that. But I think we're just approaching it from a university point of view.
Yeah, I imagine taking on a person individually would be some sort of vindication. Excuse me. I seem to remember back in my memory, there's a book called The Plague Dogs, which was written by the same guy that wrote Watership Down. It's quite a very sad and disturbing book, but one of the dogs in there was subjected to the forced swim test. Yeah, it ends with the book ends with the two dogs running to escape from being hunted down by people, and they swim out into the sea because one of the dogs says there's this mystical island that they'll be able to get to as long as they just keep swimming for long enough. And yeah, clearly because he's a bit been messed up from the laboratory tests on forced swimming, and that's the end of the book, is them just swimming out to sea with nowhere to go. Really, it's quite sad. But I just thought I'd mention that because yeah, that was their experience was based around the forced swim test, which is clearly just a horrendous thing to be doing to people.
And I mean, the world doesn't care about the world doesn't really care about the ethics of how we treat animals, does it? On a large scale. So it would actually make more sense if it were just outright abominable from an ethical standpoint. But the issue is there's so many scientific arguments against the test as well that I just don't understand why we still do it. So we're trying to be in talks with the university now, and we're trying to get a meeting with the vice chancellor. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's yeah. Well, best of luck with that. I hope that brings fruition and soon.
Thank you. It could because our university has a license for 4,000 rats and mice to be tested on in the next 5 years. So it has a potential to help a lot of lives there.
That's that's an incredibly large number of lives. It just seems disturbing that a species of such quote unquote high intellect about as ours is still just doing such abominable things. So another thing that you're involved in, which I mentioned at the beginning, is the plant-based universities. Maybe you want to give me a little bit of background on what that is and what that entails.
Yeah, plant-based unis was kind of my foot in the door of all of my activism, actually. Um, Plant-based unis, I actually discovered because of a targeted Instagram advert. So it was pretty random, I guess. I just got like an advert for it, and I was like, "Oh, this like completely plant-based unis. How legit is this? Like, is this achievable? Is this possible?" I didn't really think it was legit at first, and I was talking to someone else who I went once or twice to a vigil at a pig slaughterhouse near me. I guess that was kind of the first thing I did. And was talking to an older guy who goes there, and he was like, "Go for it! You have to go for it. What are you doing if you don't?" So I was like, "Yeah, okay." So I contacted plant-based unis, and turns out I was the first person at Bristol to do that. So I started kind of gathering people to work on the University of Bristol branch of the campaign, and just to give you an idea, it's trying to get all of our university catering 100% plant-based. That's the ultimate goal. And a couple of unis have passed various motions already. A lot of them have certain caveats, like the motion has been passed, so it like shows that the students want it, but it doesn't have power with the uni. Or some of it is like the motion has been passed for the student union, so their student union will go 100% plant-based by a certain year, but the university itself still has other stuff. But anyway, so I started growing the University of Bristol branch. By the way, our uni is already pretty good with plant-based food. I think about 73% of our menu is plant-based, and they're working currently on reducing the meat in the meat options by 50%. So like if you get a beef lasagna, it'll have 50% less beef in the coming year. So we're already pretty good as a uni, which actually makes my job a bit harder because it's, how do you advocate for going 100% when they're already pretty far down the scale? So I commend them for that, but obviously, there's still awful things going on to animals and to our climate, and to our planet, because of these unsustainable practices. So yeah, to try and grow a team, we had a talk from Klaus from Plant Based News. He came and gave a talk, and that got about 20 people in, and we've had a steady team working on the topic since then. And in February, I believe it was February, we tried to pass a motion at the student union, but actually they ran out of time at the meeting, so it's been pushed back till May.
So I was actually talking to somebody the other day, and we were talking. There's the IPCC report has just come out, and the meat industry themselves pushed back against them actually advocating for a plant-based diet, so it was watered down.
I saw this,
but yeah, and there's a lot of people I talk to. They talk about reducing their meat and dairy intake rather than just stopping altogether. And I suggest to them that as they're aware of the issue, they do need to stop it entirely, because there are so many other people that won't. If we were all to reduce the amount of dairy, if everybody did it, that would be advantageous. But lots of people aren't going to do it. So if you are able to do it, you should do it entirely. Whether that's from an ethical standpoint, but just purely from a save your own arse climate standpoint.
Yeah, even from the selfish point of view of the climate kind of thing, which isn't completely selfish, because here in the UK we're in a privileged position and other countries are facing it worse than we do, so we kind of have a responsibility to do everything that we can. But the thing that kind of stands out to me is that when people talk about reducing their meat, is that it's not just that plant-based diets are more sustainable, it's that animal agriculture is actively destructive. So why would you only half it? Why would you half it? You want to get rid of something that's actively destructive completely. It's not just that, by eating a plant-based burger, you're planting some trees. It's that by eating a plant-based burger instead of animal agriculture, a beef burger, you're aiding even if in a small way, still in a significant way, at, vast stretches of the Amazon not being burned down. So why would you only do it sometimes? Go all the way. Come on.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I also feel from an ethical point of view, when people talk about reductionism, it's just like, well, I'm only going to rape and murder once a week.
Yeah, I mean, make no mistake. Like I talk a lot about the climate and stuff, but my primary concern is definitely the animals. I do go back and forth about which kind of arguments are more convincing for people my age. But to an extent, who cares about convincing? We do have a duty, I think, to talk about the animal's point of view, and it's I see these online kind of jokes, these like vegan meme pages, people talking about like, oh, I only have a burger once a week, and then it's a cow saying, oh, thank you, I'm only a little bit dead. It is ridiculous. Come on, think about the victims. You can't just reduce and say, that's good for the animals, because no, an individual still died. I could reduce my meat. I could reduce my meat and I could eat the person down the street and you, and make burgers out of you both, or I could reduce and not eat the person down the street, but I'm still going to eat you. No, come on.
I think that's the thing. It's when you examine yourself and look at these others as individuals rather than just part of a factory process. then you are responsible for every single individual rather than just a part of an abstract concept.
My dad recently has been eating mostly plant-based, and he's talked to me about how nowadays when he sees meat in supermarkets or butcher stores or whatever, he's beginning to see them more as individuals, which is good news for me and for the animals, of course.
You think you'll ever see it? Do you think we'll see a vegan planet in your lifetime?
I don't know. I think that is tied up in the ecological crisis that we're in. I think that is tied up with climate change because, as a lot of people have kind of pointed out, when you have major crises that kind of destroy a society, what you see is a lapse in a lot of social, moral, and civil rights, and what you see is all these this moral progress we see kind of collapses. So yes, while veganism is growing now, if our situation gets worse and worse, economically and ecologically, and everything just goes to shit, which I kind of think it will, unfortunately, people kind of buckle up and double down in their ways, and I think what we'll see is a lot more exploitation. So I hope so, and I think we will, but I think it has to be through some pretty drastic action pretty quickly. My estimate I was giving a few months ago was that some people think it will be sooner. I think maybe 100 years. I know it's a long time, but I think maybe 100 years, which means we're close, relatively speaking.
Yeah, I'd like to see it in my lifetime, to be honest. I never thought I would. But just the shift in the movement I've seen in the last few years makes me a lot more hopeful than I used to be. So what future plans have you got, Jesse?
What future plans do I have? Well, we're going to try and plot to pass a motion in our student union in May to get all of our student unions catering to be 100% plant-based by, I think, 2027. And trying to push with the uni to get the forced swim test banned. And if talks with the Vice Chancellor don't work in the coming weeks, I'm busy designing a campaign now that'll be a pretty intensive one in October and November. I have some big plans for that, which I'll keep under wraps. But I'm pretty confident that we'll get it banned.
From the blue green sea, we have to fall, we had to fall. From color crystal parapets, I did not want to touch the rock, I did not want to lose my rest. Go down, no place of breath, too dark, too wild, can't catch my depth. Feels like we're always diving, never knowing how to rise, to fly, to swim. The sun breaks somewhere, do we ever get there? From the blue-green sea, we have to fall, we had to fall. I saw your light, I saw your color, I thought I saw. Tonight I plume down, singing for your hue. We come back for these colors, This is the loudest wild to see. Certain ripple diving in the dry. I caught the dark and fell away. Will and swell in a swirl seashell. In the blue green sea. We have to fall, we had to fall. I thought I saw you. I thought I saw. We have to fall, we had to fall. I thought I saw. I thought I saw you. I thought I saw you seeing me.
Now, unlike some other islands out there, we want you to have some things that are actually worth having for survival. So we give you a complete botanical encyclopedia which will enable you to forage for all the plants available to eat across the globe. And of course, a boat in order for you to venture away from the island and continue your journey into the ocean of opportunity for self-development and vegan outreach. You also get to take one book, one website address that you can recommend to fellow travellers, and your own personal must-have vegan item in order to keep your spirits up and strengthen your resolve. So firstly, what book would you like to take with you on your journey, and why?
Right, so the book that I'm bringing is Other Minds by Peter Godfrey Smith. It's a book on the development of brains in ourselves, but also in octopi, and how they kind of formed completely separately. So in the evolutionary tree, we broke off and then both developed brains separately. So it's kind of like seeing alien species and what encounters with them might be like, and how complex their social behavior is, which is really, really interesting and really valuable from a philosophical point of view, and from a point of view of like understanding that other animals are, just as individual and sentient as we are. But it's also pretty relevant right now with, I think, have you seen the news of people trying to make the world's first octopus farm, and like 1 million octopi a year are going to be frozen in -20-degree water or -3-degree water, and that's the slaughter method they're going to use. It's just awful, but it is a beautiful book.
Yeah, the full title is The Octopus, the Sea and the Origins of Consciousness.
Yeah, exactly. It's so interesting, and it goes into detail about like the different social structures, and how we might kind of estimate their emotions and what's going on in their brains. And it's really, really interesting. It's beautiful.
So you also have one website that you can take with you in order to share with fellow travellers. So what website would you like to share with other people?
Yeah, so I thought I'd take one that is following on the island theme. And it is Azgars fantasy map generator, and this is coming from a kid who really loved drawing little fantasy maps. In fact, actually, I've got one up on my wall right there. It's really tiny, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to, little card by card, I'm just going to expand it and keep drawing it and just make it bigger and bigger. Anyway, for some reason, they've always fascinated me, and I'm a big, I used to be a big lover of the fantasy genre. And I thought, for a vegan island radio, if you want to kind of picture what a vegan island might look like, you can go onto Asgard's fantasy map generator, click refresh, and have a look at some of the different island configuration possibilities, just for fun.
Yeah, I did have a look yesterday, and there's just a mind-boggling array of different aspects that you can tweak in order to get your own fantasy island going.
So if you are tired of living in such a carnist and a speciesist world, just log on to Asgard's fantasy map generator and have a good time.
Yeah, brilliant. I don't know. So, were you ever into Dungeons and Dragons or anything like that?
I was never massively into it, but I've played a few games. I had some friends who were very much into it, and it has. I've enjoyed it. I've liked the few games that I've played, but I never got majorly into it.
I had a quick look at the history of fantasy maps as well. Actually, started in the Middle Ages. Dante's Hell seems to have been the first fantasy map. His depiction of the 9 layers of hell.
Pretty interesting historical fantasy map that I'm aware of. I'll just share real quick. I think it's called La Carte de Tendre, and it's 17th century French. And what these French women basically did is they would meet in their social circles and they would discuss this fantasy map, and it was like a landscape of love. So you'd have like the mountains of I don't know, like romantic turmoil or whatever. You'd have like the field of, I don't know, sex, or like the forest of jealousy and stuff like that. So I don't know, pretty creative little one there from the French.
Yeah, right. One that I didn't come across. I'll go and search that out later. So, and finally, there's a must-have vegan item. Everybody has a must-have vegan item that they must have when the worst comes to the worst, and if all else goes tits up. So, what would that be?
It's hummus. It's so easy. It's hummus. I eat it all the time. Actually, it might not be an easy choice because I've eaten it so much at this point that I'm like slightly beginning to become repulsed. So, so this comes from like I have this thing where no matter how much hummus I buy, it will not last 24 hours in my fridge. Like it will be gone because I will just eat all of it. So I have to buy it in small amounts, otherwise I will just overeat the whole thing. Doesn't matter what flavor, if it's jalapeno hummus, if it's classic, if it's red pepper, Moroccan, that's really good. All the different hummus types. It's a major food group. It should be on the Eat Well plate as a major food group, I think.
Yeah, I find all of the different flavors are really, really intriguing and enjoyable. But coming back to the classic hummus, just standard hummus, it's always there for me as well. In fact, I always maintain I could eat bricks.
You could eat bricks if it had hummus on it. I could probably do that.
Yeah, if they had hummus on them, yeah. I'm. Me and my wife make different hummus. She makes her hummus using water, and I make my hummus using the water from the tin. And the water from the tin has got a little bit of salt in, which actually makes the flavour very different.
Yeah, it's got the chickpea water, the aquafaba. Yeah, we use that in a lot of our. I work in a cocktail bar, and all of our drinks are vegan, more or less. On certain days when we run out of supplies, unfortunately, they're not vegan. But most of the time, we use chickpea water. It's aquafaba, and it makes this beautiful foam on top of the drinks.
Yeah, it's really, really good. It's for making meringues as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So now all that remains for us to do is for me to thank you again for coming to visit me on the island, and for you to climb aboard your wonderfully crafted vessel and sail off into the sunset to continue on your journey towards a fully vegan planet. Thanks once again to Jessie Prince from Bristol Plant-Based Universities. Thank you, Jessie. And as Jessie sails away on their brand new adventure, I'd just like to say a special thank you to Mike Ohio, the Repressions, and Queen V for providing today's music. Links for all of them are available in the description. That's all for now on Vegan Island Radio. Please like, share, subscribe, leave us a comment if you wish. And if you'd like to help to maintain the island, why not click on the Patreon link and see what you can do to help out. Thanks once again for tuning in, and be sure to join us next Sunday and see who else washes up on our shores.
Focus on the root of the problem. Diseases, the destruction of the earth. All of this stems from our addiction to meat, the world's oldest and strongest addiction.
the Arque Experience. Hello, Jesse.
Hello, Ark.
Are you ready for your questions?
I am ready.
Jumpers, cardigans, or tank tops?
Tank tops, but only recently. I used to hate them.
If you were a different animal, what animal would you be?
I would love to be a pangolin. They've got really cool scales. They waddle around like this, and they roll around in the mud. I think they're really cute.
Do robots dream of electric sheep?
I think they do, but I think the more interesting question is, why do robots dream of electric sheep? What are they trying to learn about these electric sheep, and where do these electric sheep come from? That's my question that I pose back to you, Ark.
If we assume that robots do dream of electric sheep, this could symbolise the desire for experiences or qualities they lack due to their artificial nature. It could be a representation of their longing for a connection with the organic and natural world that humans inherently possess. As for where these electric sheep come from, we could imagine various possibilities. 1. Manufactured dreams. In a futuristic setting, robots might have advanced programming and artificial intelligence systems that allow them to simulate experiences akin to dreams. These dreams could involve scenarios involving electric sheep, which could be a result of their exposure to information related to sheep and electricity. 2. Shared knowledge. If robots are connected to a collective network or share information with each other, they could collectively create and share the concept of electric sheep within their shared knowledge base, leading to the possibility of dreaming about them. 3. Virtual environments. In a world where robots can interact with virtual environments, they might encounter simulations or virtual landscapes that include electric sheep as a representation of something fascinating and unfamiliar to them. It is, however, essential to emphasize that this assumption remains firmly within the realm of speculative fiction and creative storytelling. As of this present time, real-world robots do not possess consciousness or the ability to dream. The notion of robots dreaming of electric sheep is merely a concept which serves as a vehicle to explore philosophical, ethical, and existential themes in storytelling. An interesting topic. Do you have a favourite football team?
No, I don't. Sorry.
Bees or wasps?
Bees, absolutely bees. Especially bumblebees.
If you could be a body of water, what would you be?
Oh, that's a hard one. I'd like to be a lake with a little island in the middle. I think that'd be cool. There's a secluded lake.
What book are you reading now?
I'm currently reading Losing Eden by Lucy Jones. Have a quick scan of that, Ark.
Item scanned. Thank you, Jesse.
It's about why our minds need the wild and why we are happier when we're in nature. And it's got some really, really lovely, cool chapter titles like Mud Luscious and Puddle Wonderful. Very strange.
What is your favourite tree?
Ooh, that's a hard one. I grew up around a lot of cherry trees and birch trees, so maybe I'll go for a cherry tree. Have a lot of good memories with those.
Do you dream in colour?
I do dream in colour, although sometimes I dream without sound.
What about backyard eggs?
Yeah, I think they're dangerous, especially under capitalism. I think they're very dangerous. I'd avoid them.
If you had a time machine, would you use it?
Absolutely, yeah. Although I don't know where I'd go. That's a hard question. I'd go somewhere way in the past, I think. I think maybe... No, I wouldn't shoot Hitler, but I'd do something. I'd do something cheeky. Maybe I'd be tampering with some evidence in some police station somewhere.
What was the last film you saw at the cinema?
Oh, give me a moment. It was Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which is very vegan, I would say. Go watch it.
Would you relocate a cellar spider in order to save your favourite house spider?
I'm not sure I understand the question. I think yes.
That concludes the Arque Experience. Thank you, Jesse.
Thank you, Arque. That was fun.